Sorry, I was in the bathroom. Give me 1 second. Yes.
Welcome, Raphael. So sorry for the delay in getting the information to you, but welcome to Triumph Life, and we're so excited about you being here today.
Thank you guys for inviting me. And I was feeling like Macaulay Culkin on Home Alone. I was like, oh my God, they forgot me.
No, we had the email kept bouncing back, so I just kept trying. I was not going to be defeated, so we're so glad you're here.
No, no, no
Okay,
problem.
take it away.
You guys, when I play something to start it?
Yes, for the first 15 minutes, you're up. We'll
Oh,
feature you, and then we will go into our gathering at 12 noon. So
okay.
to all of our, because we're live, broadcasting live on Facebook, so all of our Facebook community, we just want to welcome Raphael Kaft, from who's joining us from Brazil. Wesley is traveling today. So let's just give a shout out or say hello on Facebook to Raphael. And he's going to start us off with some music, and then we'll go into our gathering, and he's going to come back and play some more for us. So whatever your heart desires, Raphael, just inspire
Okay.
us.
I'm gonna play for you guys my first composition that I wrote when I was about 17 years old. Uh, it's a composition that I wrote in when I was with a, a sad feeling, but that composition, that music, that song got to me like a hope, like um, I could be something else. So it's very important to me, and it was the first song that I wrote, so it's very important for me
Wow.
because that as well. So I hope you enjoy it. It's another song that have that feeling that for me it's like a mother feeling. The lyrics, it's very simple. It's just some syllables that repeat and repeat and make you feel peace. So Gina na ewa, ewa ewa e. So Gina na ewa, ewa ewa e. So Gina na ewa, ewa ewa e. So Gina na. So Gina na ewa, ewa ewa e. So Gina na ewa, ewa ewa e. So Gina na ewa, ewa ewa e. So Gina na. So Gina na ewa, ewa ewa e. So Gina na ewa, ewa ewa e. So Gina na ewa, ewa ewa e. So Gina na. Sometimes it's not important to know the words, but feel the feeling. It's the most important thing. Even Portuguese, it's just some syllables. The feeling is more important in that song. So Gina na ewa, ewa ewa e. So Gina na. So Gina na. So Gina na. I hope you guys like it.
Yes. All right. Thank you,
That was
Raphael.
beautiful.
Thank you, guys.
It's really nice to meet you. This is so cool.
It's been a pleasure to be writing for you.
Oh,
Uh,
where are you
I'm
calling in from?
I'm from São Paulo, Brazil. Right now, I'm in São Paulo.
Okay. We're all of us are kind of all over. Well, mostly on the East Coast right now in the United States. So cool. Thank you again for joining us. We'll have you come back in during our sacred readings section where we share some poetry and some lovely tunes.
Okay, I'm gonna think something very beautiful for this moment.
Thank you. Okay, so hello everybody. Everybody that's on Zoom right now, everybody that's watching us online on Facebook, and in the future, hello. Welcome to Triumph Life Center's virtual spiritual gathering. It's Sunday, September 19th. We made it. We've had our 2-week break, sabbatical, hiatus, however you will, and it was a great time of rest and adventure and chilling and kind of like resetting. It's fall season, so a lot of things are starting up again. And we're really happy to be here. I'm happy to see everyone's face. It's exciting. I feel like spiritually really nice right now. So I'll start with our quote. It's from the Tao. The Tao is silent. The ancient Taoists were quite close when they said of me, whom they called Tao, that I do not do things, yet through me all things get done. I'll say it again. I do not do things, yet through me all things get done. And that kind of, leads towards our theme of the paradoxes in affirming life. So as usual, we'll have our scripture reading, we'll have some more poetry and music, some grounding, some conversation. I'm going to share a little bit of a book review, something I've been reading throughout our break time. And we'll start to close out around 1:15 p.m. So let's start with scripture. For in him we live and move and have our being, as certain also of your own poets have said, for we are also of his lineage. Being therefore of the lineage of God, we ought not to think that which is divine is like unto gold or silver or stone, bearing the mark of art and man's imagination. That's Acts 17:28-29 from the Jubilee Bible. At this point, I'm going to take on the slide so we can see each other's beautiful faces. And I'm going to lead us through a grounding, a meditation, some time to breathe and calm any nerves. And also to set intentions for today's meeting. I have my singing bowl as usual. When I strike the bowl, feel free to take a nice deep breath in and out. You're welcome to close your eyes if that's comfortable for you and move into a position that feels good. Let's do one more. I encourage you to continue your breathing at any rate that feels good for you. And notice how your body responds as you breathe intentionally. It happens quite automatically. We don't even think about it. But when we do put some thought to it, we can like bask in the gratitude of being alive, of having this tool that comes so naturally to us to regulate our experience throughout the day. And right now, I'm really visualizing ways that I can protect my energy. I do that through the breath, through this like loyalty and constant reliance on my breath, on my ability to exist and to just be as I am. I visualize this kind of glow, this light, this golden color, though it might be a different color for you, of beautiful sacred energy surrounding my physical form. And it goes with me everywhere that I go, no matter where I am, no matter who I'm with, no matter the time of day, I am protected. My energy is protected. And this light emanates from my soul, from my being. I don't have to earn it. It's simply there. I tap into it. And I feed it with my loving thoughts and again my gratitude. So if there's any moment that you're feeling stressed out or upset or scared, remember this glow that comes from within, that it's always there. Even when you're facing the greatest of challenges, it is there protecting you. Let's take some final breaths together. In through the nose and out through the mouth. And in through the nose and out through the mouth. And on this last one, on the exhale, make a nice big sound, a sigh, a grunt, a melody, anything that feels good. In and out. All right. Thank you for witnessing that with me and experiencing it with me. It's a nice reminder. It has helped me get through a lot, and I am really grateful that I can share that tool with you all. So here's our official welcome. Everyone who has joined the call since the start. Hi, we're happy to be back. This is really exciting. It feels like we're returning home after floating around a little bit. It's the fall season. Many of us have started new job, new school, just new transition, maybe family members, if not us personally. So the leaves are starting to change. The temperature is starting to drop, at least here in the United States, where I'm at. It's like time for change. I'm happy to see everyone again. And everyone that's watching us live, thank you for joining us once more. We have a lot of interesting programming coming your way. And today we're gonna ease into it a little bit. I also kind of wanna just give a moment during this welcome. If anyone would like to share any announcements or any welcoming affirmations, you're welcome to unmute and say so. We haven't seen each other in a minute, so if anyone needs to say anything, you're welcome to. Needs or wants?
I wanted to say something. Today when I was sleeping, I had this message on my mind, and that message told me something like all my energy, it's coming for some place. all my energy, all our energy is coming for that place, and it's need to be back for that place. It's energy. It's like a river, and we need to allow that go to the right place. So I think me right now with you guys playing and having this moment, I'm I'm giving back that energy for the right place.
That's beautiful. Thank you. I agree. I think energy, I mean, there's this theory of energy can neither be created nor destroyed. And if you hold that energy for too long, I suppose it could become stagnant. It could harm you. And this, if you consider this attitude of reciprocity that I give and I take and I give and I take continuously, it's a cycle.
Yeah.
I think that really helps me get by. Thank you for mentioning that. Would anyone else like to share any welcoming or affirming messages before we move on?
I like sharing messages. A few weeks ago, I made a comment about Angela. I want to say I apologize. Apologies, sincere to Angela. I made a comment about her, and I was wrong. I want. I know I triggered something about her, and I apologize. We're gonna go shopping, Angela.
Thank you, Trav. And shout out to Angela. I think also, yeah, again, this is a good space to like clear energy. Thank you. Next we have Triumph's 7 Life Affirming Principles by Nadia.
Triumph's 7 life affirming principles, the basis of union. We affirm that life is in the breath and breath is life. Therefore, we join together to promote our shared humanity and inseparable breath. We affirm that we are born whole, complete as perfect manifestations of the universal mind, Christ. We affirm our physical bodies differ and as such may present different challenges, limitations, or privileges that everyone may not share in. Therefore, we join together to share our strengths and support one another where there may be weaknesses so that we all may enjoy the fullness of life. We affirm that our agreement is to pursue peace, walk in truth, uphold justice, tempered with mercy. We affirm that we are like branches on a tree. Although we may grow in different directions, we share a common root, and as such, we pledge to respect each person's path, even as it may differ from one's own. We agree to walk in agreement that it's all right to disagree, and we protect and safeguard this right in so much as the state of disagreement upholds an affirmation of life. We affirm that community building is the process of communal shared principles, shared resources, as well as equitable access to resources. Therefore, we commit to being agents of an open culture that welcomes everyone to participate in the life of the community, with the provision that we also hold each other accountable for acts that not support the life affirming principles of our awareness while equally looking for and enacting a commitment to forgive and restore in the spirit of humility and love. Lastly, we affirm the earth and all that dwell therein are manifestations held within the universal mind Christ, and humanity's role is to be faithful stewards of this earth by demonstrating respect and dignity for all beings, the sacredness of Mother Earth, and our commitment to caring for her as we care for ourselves.
Thank you, Nadia. I'm going to share our opening prayer, Unity of All, Hanto Yo. Hanto Yo means clear the way in the Lakota. Let us pray. God of surprises, you call us from the narrowness of our traditions to new ways of being church, from the captivities of our culture to creative witness for justice, from the smallness of our horizons to the bigness of your vision. Clear the way in us, your people, that we might call others to freedom and renewed faith. Clear the way in us, your people, that we might call others to wholeness and integrity. Great Spirit, you call us from fear to faithfulness, from clutter to clarity, from a desire to control to deeper trust, from the refusal to love to a readiness to risk. Clear the way in us, your people, that we might all know the beauty and power and danger of the gospel. Ashe. And I'm just going to share some information about Triumph Life Center. We opened in Brooklyn, Canarsie, Brooklyn on October 19, 2019, under the umbrella of Triumph, the Church of the New Age International, founded in 1904. October is coming, it's a month away. By the way, that's exciting. We seek to further the work of founder Bishop Elias Dempsey Smith, who taught life-affirming spiritual principles. Our vision is of an interdependent community where all may share in the fullness of life. Our mission is to promote the creation of new cultural practices and social and economic systems that are egalitarian, affirms our shared humanity, and holds sacred the earth and all life forms, to create a safe and sacred space where marginalized communities can expand both their spiritual and intellectual life and gain access to shared resources, to honor the Sabbath as a time for individual and collective spiritual, physical, emotional, and mental well-being through shared music, spoken word, sacred readings, and a communal meal when we're together in person. Our goal is to be a hub for engaging conversations, creative arts expressions, expanding reverence and care for the earth and all life forms, forming alliances and building bridges across community barriers that mutually affirm our shared humanity, where people of all faiths, cultures, ethnicities, races, genders, orientations, abilities, and personal challenges are in community with each other on one accord. So that's us. Next, we're going to move into our sacred reading. So I'll share the screen that has the poems. And Raphael, you can start. Anything you would like to play. And you can pause after maybe 30 seconds and Travis will come in and share a poem and then go back to you, maybe 30 more seconds of music. And then Travis with the poem and back and forth.
Okay.
Thank you. Go ahead, Trav.
I love myself. I love myself so much, I want more of you. I love myself so much, I waited for you. I love myself so much, I didn't know I changed for you. I love myself so much, I started to glow. God said, whoa, I'm happy you know your worth. Energy, good vibes and understanding. God wrote the 10 Commandments. He wants to give you a home. If you was abandoned, you may think you're damaged or you're a work in progress. You may call this a church, but they have rehabilitation. You might listen when God's communicating. There's 2 things God wants you to do. Don't look back and don't give up. Give God your word, he will bless you. Made by God, warrior God, warrior triumph. Welcome home. God made a table just for you. Prepare to enter heaven. Access have been granted. God's only rule is no soul left behind. Because we have a mission to save lives, to give love to our community, to create a future for the youth, to heal the generations and the next. We still help to guide people, help save a life, not destroy one. Welcome home. We've been watching for a long time. To enjoy so much. Still have pure hope. See you one time, but to give you a fresh start. What you've been through, we can move you out. Welcome home. This is a place of scar become testimony. Your birth will be a ceremony. Welcome home. This is where you belong. Welcome to Triumph Church.
Nice. That was so flowy and beautiful.
Absolutely.
Everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Raphael.
Thank you, guys.
All right, that felt really good. I'm just gonna share our outline for our discussion today, so you have a little idea of what to expect. Again, our theme is the paradoxes in affirming life. So these are some resources we'll share. I'm going to introduce a book that I've been reading. It's called Americanah. It's a really beautiful novel that I've been rolling through in the best way possible. We have a little video clip of the author herself speaking, and we'll have some commentary, some interesting discussion, whatever comes up based on the themes of the book and the theme of our discussion today. And again, we'll close out around 1:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So let's get it started. This is what the title or the cover page of this book looks like, Americanah. I actually saw a visual that had all of the different covers of throughout the world, different countries, and I thought it was really beautiful and interesting. But this is the one that I personally have here in the United States. Americanah, a novel by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen, but I'm still going to be reading a little bit of notes that I created. Has anyone heard of this book or read it before?
Brenda, I didn't know this particular book, but as I shared with you, when you first sent the title of the book, I didn't look at the author. And it wasn't until actually this morning I realized that I knew the author from her other publications. And I've actually shared from her writings with my students over the past several years. So I'm very excited about learning more about this particular book.
This book is a fictional novel, though I would say it's closer to an autobiography. It's a loose autobiography, we could put it that way. I'll read a brief summary. Americanah is a 2013 novel by the Nigerian author Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. for which she won the 2013 US National Book Critics Circle Award for fiction. Americanah tells the story of a young Nigerian woman, Ifemelu, who immigrates to the United States to attend university, and the novel traces Ifemelu's life in both countries, threaded by her love story with a high school classmate, Obinze. And this is the author's third novel, published May 14th, 2013. I saw this book in the news like everywhere, like I guess maybe in 2016-ish. I had one of my peers was reading it and she would bring it in every day. So I remember hearing from her how much she loved it. And honestly, I came across it on the street when I was walking. Like there's a lot of these free public libraries that I like to look through, and it just happened to be there. And I was like, oh, I've been wanting to read this for so long. So I felt like the universe brought me to it, you know? It found me in a way. So some major themes that are in this novel that, at least that I picked up on. First, racism. She talks a lot about being a woman of color, specifically a non-American Black woman, and her experience in the education system here, both in Nigeria and America, and her issues with finding jobs and like the very, like the backhanded compliments, the microaggressions, more so than the explicit racist events that she might have experienced. Another theme is intersectionality. I would define intersectionality as this idea of a compounding or layering of identity, and how that specific and unique combination of identity affects the kind of experience you have in your life, the good and the bad. So she's speaking from her experience as an educated woman of color, an immigrant, an able-bodied woman. So it's interesting to hear her speak throughout the novel, or I guess write, Another theme is immigration and Americanization. So again, this idea of moving from home in order to get a better education. I'll speak more on this a little bit later, but this concept of Americanization, and I guess being born and raised here in the United States, it's like ingrained in my culture, in my life. And so to consider it from an outsider's perspective, someone from another country coming here and dealing with that intense assimilation is very interesting to hear and to learn about. So I'm going to share a quote that I found about this Americanization. In the context of the novel, America itself is a symbol of hope, wealth, social and economic mobility, and ultimately disappointment, as Ifemelu, the main character, learns that the American dream is a lie and that the advantages she enjoys there often come at a great price. Her Americanization is slow, but distinct, and she gradually picks up the slang, adapts to her surroundings, for better or worse, and adopts American politics. Her views on gender and race change because of this, and her blog that she is known for writing, her online website, is devoted to exploring the issue of race as a non-American Black in America. She's called Americanah when she returns to Nigeria, having picked up a blunt American way of speaking and of addressing problems. She resists this label of Americanah, but it's obvious to the reader that her years in America have changed her. So we can already see this, the paradox of like the good and the bad existing, the both and existing simultaneously. And again, how it's described as a gradual process of assimilation, of adjusting to a culture that is not her own. But then when she returns home, having that huge influence in how she views her hometown and views her friends from her school. Culture makes a huge impact on worldview. Another theme, classism. Another theme, gender roles. And we could go on and on and on and on. But those were like the 5 that I really wanted to bring up in this moment. I think even if you have not read through this book, you might be able to relate to a lot of these themes of immigration, of intersectionality, of racism, of classism, of gender roles and expectations. Does anyone have anything they'd like to say in this moment before I continue on? Any questions, any clarifications, any thoughts?
Oh, this is great.
Okay. I'm going to continue on and share some quotes that particularly stood out to me. There's so many. She writes very beautifully. It's like very witty and poetic language at once. I guess when I think of poetic, I think of very like beautiful and not abrasive and not blunt and in your face. But she makes a lot of her writing is very blunt and aggressive, but it's like still in a very like flowery tone, if that makes sense. And I really appreciated that kind of I don't know, juxtaposition, is that the right word? The opposing tones. The tone and the words used is a better way to put it. So it's Hispanic Heritage Month or Latine Heritage Month, and she writes a brief little blog post about it. So she writes this blog throughout the book, and they kind of include these quotes that she wrote, and it's like very direct, again, in your face about race. And it sparks like not a controversy, but a lot of commentary, and she gets very well known because of her blog. So I kind of just wanted to insert this here to acknowledge, I guess personally, my own Hispanic heritage. So this quote: years later, she wrote a blog post titled "Understanding America for the Non-American Black: What Hispanic Means." She says Hispanic means the frequent companions of American Blacks in poverty rankings. Hispanic means a slight step above American Blacks in the American race ladder. Hispanic means the chocolate-skinned woman from Peru. Hispanic means the indigenous people of Mexico. Hispanic means the biracial-looking folks from the Dominican Republic. Hispanic means the paler folks from Puerto Rico. Hispanic also means the blonde, blue-eyed guy from Argentina. All you need to be is Spanish speaking, but not from Spain. And Viola, you are a race called Hispanic. So she brings up this, again, you can see it's like very direct. She doesn't have any qualms about speaking about racism as it is. And also acknowledging that race is like a huge social construct, especially here in the United States. Throughout the book, she kind of describes how she discovered racism when she moved to America. And it is an international thing or concept or way of viewing the world, but she describes how being in the United States is very explicit and very like part of the culture here. And that it's like not appropriate to speak about it. So again, her being able to approach it, the topic in her blog, is like a very empowering stance. Another quote about immigration. I thought that this was honestly a beautiful way to describe it. The quote says, Alexa and the other guests, and perhaps even Georgina, other characters that are in this book, all understood the fleeing from war, from the kind of poverty that crushed human souls, but they would not understand the need to escape from the oppressive lethargy of choicelessness. They would not understand why people like him, who were raised well fed and watered, but mired in dissatisfaction, conditioned from birth to look towards somewhere else, eternally convinced that real lives happened in that somewhere else. We're now resolved to do dangerous things, illegal things, so as to leave, none of them starving or raped or from burned villages, but merely hungry for a choice and certainty. I appreciated her describing immigration in this way, this desire to find something else. And it's not necessarily because you are escaping war or that you are a refugee or that she's describing her lifestyle of growing up and having food and having a place to live and having an education, but still this mentality, this ideal that to find success is not at home. You need to go somewhere else, particularly America. And again, comes in that Americanization of the American dream. This is where you can find and be everything and anything you want to be. And then her finding out that really, that's not exactly what what it's all made up to be. I have one more quote, but before we continue, if anyone wants to speak.
I think I heard Raphael. Go ahead.
Okay.
I want to say something about what you told, about what you read. I think it's a strategy of the domination of the people. It's to categorize the people likes just one thing. For example, you categorize like that people is bad people, that people make wrong things because you want to dominate it, that people. So it's like for me, it's a strategy for that because we are so complex in our desires and how a human being, it's very difficult to understand each person. Just one person, it's almost impossible to understand. So it's like a domination strategy to make a, a bunch of people or a country just one thing to categorize it. So, for example, me here in Brazil, when I was a kid, I liked to read classic lecture, class books, for example. But I was a black guy and a favela, so the people didn't realize that I wanted that I could read some books. For example, they think I must read those kind of books or listen those kind of music because I'm black and I'm from a favela. Yeah, I'm a poor people. So it's a way to dominate the people.
Wow. That your comment, Raphael, I think speaks directly to the author's her lecture, and I think that later on, Brenda's going to share a video clip from her where she talks about the danger of a single story. And I think that's what you were suggesting, that when we create this framing and we put a whole group of people in that frame, and begin to create stories and narratives about them.
Just one characteristic.
Yes, one characteristic. It's very dangerous because none of us, as you suggest, fit neatly into a box. We're so diverse and so different.
We are not bidimensional, we are three-dimensional. So we have a lot more things to understand about each people. So it's complex.
Yes, yes. And therein often lies the paradox, because we can be and or both.
Yeah.
Are there any other comments before I continue? Or questions? Okay. I'll share the last quote and I'll put it in the chat. I realized I should do that so that you could all also see it. And this is speaking on the theme of racism. It's short. She says, the point of diversity workshops or multicultural talks was not to inspire any real change, but to leave people feeling good about themselves. They did not want the content of her ideas. They merely wanted the gesture of her presence. They had not read her blog, but they had heard that she was a leading blogger about race. I like her satirical tone. and her calling out this performative response to a lot of the social constructs that we face. Again, the gesture, like, okay, cool, you're here, but what you have to say doesn't really matter. As you know, like I want to go home feeling like, oh, I learned about diversity. I'm experiencing that a lot too in my own education, like at the universities and stuff, you know, like they have all these like, oh, we're gonna host this speaker and we're gonna do this thing, but then they don't follow up, you know, they don't necessarily follow through with their actions, and it's really frustrating and disappointing. And a lot of times it's up to the younger students, or just not younger, just students, to hold the institutions accountable, when I don't think it should necessarily be that way. It should be a collaborative effort. Would anyone like to speak?
I think I saw Bandley unmuted. I don't know if she was trying to speak or she just was unmuted. So Brenda, just to your point where you just shared it's up to the younger people, and then you kind of backpedaled on that. Just a little funny story. I remember a few years back, in teaching one of my classes, and again, these are college students, 18, 19, 20, mainly non-African Americans. The dominant culture are not African Americans or foreigners. Every semester I get maybe 1 or 2 or 3 people of color in my classes. But we're talking about racism and we're talking about all these issues. And one of my female students, she said, you know, we're talking about when and how will change come about. And I am clearly an older person than my students. And so she says in this kind of like, just kind of the real naivety or the just honesty of just a young child. She's, I don't think change is going to happen until all the old folks die. I was like, okay, okay. But I think sometimes I think young folks may feel like that. Like, you know, the older folks are really holding up the walls against change. And until they move away, we won't see real change. But the irony or the paradox of that is that those who are young today will be old tomorrow. So who are we waiting to die out? You know, that's the real paradox.
I did backtrack because I was, you know, I believe that we are lifelong learners, and there's people that are my peers that are older than me, students that are coming back after having a family and living out a whole career and then being like, no, I'm going to do something else. So I wanted to clarify that. And so then I'm thinking, does that mean perhaps it's the people that we're quote unquote fighting against or trying to change the minds of, or people that are stuck in the system that are like feeling that they need to live out this, I don't know, this institutional fantasy of what should be, you know, or like what, like, and like there's fear holding people back. And if you have this prestige and this, you know, a well-paying position, why would you fight back on anything? Because you might lose it. Like, I'm trying to think of it, perhaps it's that way, not necessarily age, though age plays a huge factor. Like, it could just be like the positionality. So, okay. I had a few discussion questions and also to share this brief clip. I think maybe I'll share the clip first. Give me one moment. So this is the author herself speaking. She's done a few TED Talks that I saw when I was researching online, which is exciting. So if you want to watch more, you could just type in her name or even the novel Americanah. I'll put it in the chat. But let's hear what she has to say.
I come from a conventional middle-class Nigerian family. My father was a professor. My mother was an administrator. And so we had, as was the norm, living domestic help who would often come from nearby rural villages. So the year I turned 8, we got a new houseboy. His name was Fide. The only thing my mother told us about him was that his family was very poor. My mother sent yams and rice and our old clothes to his family. And when I didn't finish my dinner, my mother would say, "Finish your food. Don't you know people like Fide's family have nothing?" So I felt enormous pity for Fide's family. Then one Saturday, we went to his village to visit. And his mother showed us a beautifully patterned basket made of dyed raffia that his brother had made. I was startled. It had not occurred to me that anybody in his family could actually make something. All I had heard about them was how poor they were, so that it had become impossible for me to see them as anything else but poor. Their poverty was my single story of them. Years later, I thought about this when I left Nigeria to go to university in the United States. I was 19. My American roommate was shocked by me. She asked where I had learned to speak English so well and was confused when I said that Nigeria happened to have English as its official language. She asked if she could listen to what she called my tribal music and was consequently very disappointed when I produced my tape of Mariah Carey. She assumed that I did not know how to use a stove. What struck me was this: she had felt sorry for me even before she saw me. Her default position toward me as an African was a kind of patronizing, well-meaning pity. My roommate had a single story of Africa, a single story of catastrophe. In this single story, there was no possibility of Africans being similar to her in any way, no possibility of feelings more complex than pity, no possibility of a connection as human equals. So that is how to create a single story. Show a people as one thing, as only one thing, over and over again, and that is what they become. It is impossible to talk about the single story without talking about power. There is a word, an Igbo word, that I think about whenever I think about the power structures of the world, and it is nkali. It's a noun that loosely translates to be greater than another. Like our economic and political walls, stories too are defined by the principle of nkali. How they are told, who tells them, when they are told, how many stories are told, are really dependent on power. Power is the ability not just to tell the story of another person, but to make it the definitive story of that person. The Palestinian poet Mourid Barghouti writes that if you want to dispossess a people, the simplest way to do it is to tell their story and to start with secondly. Start the story with the arrows of the Native Americans and not with the arrival of the British, and you have an entirely different story. Start the story with the failure of the African state and not with the colonial creation of the African state, and you have an entirely different story.
Wow.
That really speaks
Wow.
a lot on what Raphael was saying earlier, this idea of the singular point of view or perspective of an entire culture, or even of a person, of an individual. Are there any responses that come up from what she said?
And I think the pain could disconnect us for that energy that I that I told you in the beginning of this meeting. I think the pain, the everyday pain that the people feel can disconnect for this power, for this energy. So when I was when I was like 14 or 15 years 15 years old, I I'm I used to call me like an atheist, like someone that did not believe in God when I was a child, for example. But with the pass of time, I realized that I really believe in God, but I was so hurt with the word. I was so in pain that I wasn't able to see it because around of me, just what I saw was pain, and it's something like God's not here. But with the pass of time, I could I don't know, I could overcome it. And now I see that I really believe in God. I really believe in some energy, in something good, in something very special. And I really feel that we all will be something else. We all
Wow.
will be something else.
Wow. Thank you, Raphael.
This is James. I was, as the video was playing, my son said he had listened to it. They had played it in his social studies class. And I've seen the clip. I saw it a number of years ago. I watched the video. And, it's just, to me, it's just interesting. This is my general kind of comment on the whole kind of skin color and classification issue. Is that, at the end of the day, it's about power. And until, the people, it's not about the old people dying. It's about taking out those people who are promoting the single story and replacing them altogether. And, people don't give up power just because you complain. And I think that's the one thing that is hard for a lot of, people interested in social change to really grasp. So at the end of the day, those people have to be removed from those positions. And you basically would have to, change New York City to be, I don't know, New Black Panther Town, I mean, and where you really have to get to that point where you're operating like that to make to end that kind of single story. So that's just my comment on that.
That makes me think again of like, okay, well, I'm impatient. How long? I think it's going to take like generations and generations and generations.
It is going to be generational. And I think and because the setup that we live in was generational.
Yeah.
Right. If you look at the ruling class's slow allowance of other people to gain voices in the culture, you can also see shifts in the culture away from that voice having any power, right? So in the United States, it's first just landed males that can basically vote, landed Caucasian males that can vote. Then they expanded to all males. Then they expanded essentially to, then you have the women's suffrage movement. And so you see the slow giving away of what seems to be power. But, and then you have what we have now in Amazon, where I don't see how it's just a kind of a step up. The voice that you have in how the culture works is actually far less than it was in 1920, right? Because you had local communities that were basically, in other words, in many ways, self-sufficient. Now you don't even have a mom and pop store, and you can't do it because you can't make a profit unless you have millions of customers. So.
Like the role of technology has also like impacted and influenced everything too. So it's like so complex. There is no simple answer. as is everything. Okay. Are there any other comments? I will share the discussion questions. The first one is quite long, but really it's just asking about how Americans navigate questions of race and bias, this whole idea of politically correct. What does that mean to you? And what has your experience been like having conversations about race with family, with friends, with coworkers, with peers, with your neighbors? And how even all of those circles, the way you speak about this topic might change. The responses you get might change. The second question, what has been your or someone that you know's experience with immigration and or assimilation into a new culture? And what were some of the specific challenges or benefits of your experience with immigration or assimilation? You don't have to speak on these questions, but if you would like to, if there's any other testimonials or experiences that you'd like to share, or a question of your own, you're welcome to.
I'll share a little bit. I have a friend who, Peach Fellow, Caucasian. And, it took him a while to realize that there were certain advantages afforded to him just because, and didn't wake up to those things until late in life, and then realized, and didn't think that he was, just didn't think that he was benefiting from, right? And, and also at the same time had experienced, I guess we'll just call it, for lack of a better term, reverse skin color abuse, where brown people would be being mean to him and nobody believed him until his friends saw it and it was like, wow, this is really weird, So it's all over the map, people's experiences.
I put the questions in the chat for you to refer to so that we could still see each other as we speak.
So we haven't heard from some of our team members, and I would just love to have them just share their thoughts.
Okay, I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, I've been having a poor connection here. It's raining heavily. If you can see behind me, it's raining heavily here.
Oh, right. It's your raining season, I believe, in Nigeria, right, Minister
Yes,
Jason?
it's raining now. So the connection is not too strong, but I believe you can hear me now. Okay. I want to talk about one of the themes in the novel, which is immigration. So I didn't read the novel, but I am sure it was very interesting. It is anyway, it's still on sale now. Very interesting book. And I remember when I heard it was at the time one of the novels was listed in Nigeria and in some West African countries, school curriculum and literature in English. Well, some of the books she wrote, like short stories, they are still on sale. Chimamanda is for my tribe, Igbo, but I don't know her person, and I'm sure she's a Nigerian American. Okay, she turned 44 on September 15th. That's when the sabbatical ended. It was celebrated here in Nigeria as well. So talking about immigration by the African youth, mostly African youth. So the men and women have joined in the race. It's now a cat race or a rat race anyway. So the causes of this are, I must say it, dictatorship is one of the causes. The bad government or bad governance and the ugly situation, which has common in so many countries like South African countries, other Southern American countries anyway. But in as much as this has become common, we still ask and urge every Nigerian or African to only stay, or women, or both men and women, to stay and fix their countries. So as to make the leaders know that to be a leader is just to be a follower and a servant. That's all I have for now.
So did you say the author is from your tribe, Minister Jason? But you don't know her personally. So is her book widely read, did you say, in Nigeria and in schools? Is she a well-known author there?
That is hear you very now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yes. Is she a well-known author or a popular author, I should say, in Nigeria?
Yes.
She is.
Yes, the great novelist. The good one.
Okay, good. Good to hear that.
And she
Yes.
said it all. And you're good enough. That is our autobiography. She said it all. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
So,
We have about 5 minutes if anyone else would like to speak. I saw in the chat another question. How can one affirm life in the midst of the single story narrative about their group?
Yeah. And I think that's really the challenge, because as our brother James said, the changes, this power system that we live in is generational, and we're not going to have, one generation comes and another one goes. So how do we, in the now, from an individual perspective and from a faith community perspective, how do we affect change when we are living in the midst of these singular stories? One of the things Brenda, that the author, talked about was these diversity training workshops and what's offered by colleges and employers. And last year we saw a lot of that coming back, because at one point after Obama was president here, this idea that we didn't need that anymore kind of was the dominant thought. Then after what we went through last year with George Floyd, we circled back, and then, okay, companies, colleges begin to say, well, maybe we need to come back and revisit this idea of diversity and inclusion. And I know for where I work, I attempted to participate in one workshop, and then I just, dismissed myself, because what I felt was it was really more of a moment for people to try to feel good about themselves. And dealing with this topic, you're going to sit at that table and you have to feel the daggers of your own self-awareness and blindness. All of us do. And it's very difficult. Most folks don't want to have difficult conversations. We want easy, convenient conversations, not difficult conversations. And change doesn't happen in easy, comfortable conversations. Change only happens when we're willing to go to the places that scare us, the places that are uncomfortable, and the places that hurt. And if we're not willing to do that, we're not willing to change. I think this is what I heard Raphael maybe even saying in his own progression. He was able to move through a place of hurt, from that place of not believing in a God or something bigger than himself because of the pain, but being able to move through that, confront that, see it, feel it, and move through it. So I think it's important on a personal level. We have to break out of that narrative. A short story for myself. My first teaching job was at Rutgers University. It was right after grad school. And it was a summer appointment for a summer program for incoming students. And so I was so excited about this. And Rutgers is a huge campus in New Brunswick, anyone has been there. So I arrived at the campus looking very professional. It was summertime, but I was still dressed very professional. And I'm trying to figure out, where am I supposed to go for the orientation? And I went into a building. I don't know now, I don't remember the name of that particular building, but there was another gentleman coming towards me, a white male, who asked, because I clearly was trying to look and, like someone that's lost. And so he asked me, what was I, was I looking for, he asked me, was I looking, I said, I'm looking for orientation. I didn't say which one. He said, you're looking for the orientation for the housekeepers. He made an assumption about me as a Black woman as to why I was there. He didn't ask me. He assumed I was, and there's nothing wrong with being a housekeeper or in the maintenance. That's a, it's a respected position, and I commend those that do that work. But he made an assumption. He didn't ask. And that's the danger of a single story. And in that moment, it kind of like took my breath away for a moment, and I didn't really know how to respond. And I don't think I did. I just think I eventually wandered and figured out where I was going myself. But confronting those kinds of situations, and we got to think about, what do you do in those moments? How do you not become angry, or should you become angry? How do you respond, or should you not respond? And do we have to respond? I saw Oprah did a series this past week on fatherhood, which I thought was well done, on Black fathers and fatherhood. And I thought it was great. But my critique of that was this, that I never see a series done on white fathers. The assumption is that Black fathers are deficit. Black fathers are somehow missing and not as good. So we have to prove to the world that Black fathers are good, that they are present, that they do know how to father. And my experience is that Black fathers are great fathers, and some Black fathers are not. There are white fathers that are great fathers, and some are not. Why do we have to prove our worth to anyone as a group?
And what you're pointing to really is the fact that here you have a cultural icon feeding into this whole narrative. So it's not helpful, right? And so, yeah, and to have a quick answer to, how, what you do is you do what we're doing. You have the conversation and you enlighten yourself, and you start to change your language and think in terms that don't even reflect those differences, and you live that out. And that's one answer, because I think these conversations make a difference. The reflection on it makes a difference, and hearing the story about, so for example, Sandra saying, how do you respond in those situations, right? That's a workshop, right? For anybody who's in any position, who's gonna either be the perpetrator or the perpetratee. What do you do when you're called out? What do you do when you're called, so I think we're doing it. And I think that's something to be encouraged by, because these small little 20-minute conversations make a difference. And what over time, what happens is you find yourself in a situation responding in a way that you may not have expected, because you've been having the conversation on a consistent basis.
So you don't have a knee-jerk reaction. You have thought through the process, and you're not just responding from an emotional place, but you're understanding that the person is not intentionally being insensitive, but they are caught up in this same power struggle that we are caught up in. And I think in realizing that, it creates a level of sensitivity to those that say and do certain things that are inappropriate, are politically inappropriate, socially inappropriate, culturally inappropriate. But at the same time, there must be a holding of accountability or responsibility, I think, a way of checking the person. And that I think has to do with relationship. I worked some years ago with a woman who, she and I became good friends. We're still good friends. We chat every now and then. When I say good friends, we'll catch up with each other and talk. But she's a white woman, but she was very insensitive and very vested in stereotypes of people of color. And because we had a relationship, I was able to kind of pull her coattail and say to her, that's not appropriate to say. Maybe you should rethink that. That didn't come out right. I know you, I kind of know your heart. And I know you're not a person that would want to hurt someone intentionally, but that's just not the right thing to say. For example, something that she did one time, which was totally inappropriate. Another colleague came into the office and had her husband with her. And her husband, the colleague was expecting a baby. And so my friend started, just asking, oh, when's the baby due? And then asking, how many children do you have? And so the other colleague said they just had the one, but their husband had, I think, one or two from a different relationship. So rather than just leaving that on the table, she said something to the effect of, well, who does the children live with? Do they live with you? Or how many mothers do you? And I was like, I was giving her the eye, like, shut up. When the colleague left the office, I said to her, listen, you don't pry like that into someone's life. It's inappropriate. And if they had not been Black, that may have not have even been an issue for you. But it was really coming from a place of her understanding of how Black families are organized or disorganized. And she was asking it, I felt, from that place of her ignorance. So sometimes I think being able to have conversations, and she was the kind of person I wouldn't get angry with me for talking to her in that way. She would receive it and we could talk back and forth. You can't do that with everyone. Just a caution, everyone won't take it in that way. But if you have a relationship with someone who is of a different culture, of a different race, and you realize there are insensitivities, then perhaps talking to them as a friend from a place of love rather than a place of hate and scorn may be one way of addressing it on an interpersonal level.
I think when we don't want to look like someone that are suffering, it's because when we look like for someone suffering, we suffer as well. So the people, it's like we are we want to run away for this feeling. So it's easier to not look for the suffer for this the suffer of someone else. So I think it's kind of like that.
Yeah, wow. I didn't realize the time. Thank you, Raphael. That's an excellent point and an excellent place for us to land, because often we are looking at them in the mirror. Our
Yeah.
pain is being reflected and we're trying to deflect that pain onto someone else.
And I think that it's because we are one. We all
we
are
are
just
one.
one. Yeah.
And that's what we see and embrace here at Triumph Life, that there's that unity, that oneness in all of us, that there's only one. But oftentimes, my grandma used to say, tongue and tooth might fight, but they don't fall out. So we occasionally may bite our tongue, but we don't yank the tongue out because we did that, because we understand that we're part of one system. We're part of one body. We do what we have to do to help each other heal and move forward. Okay, Brenda, this was great. Go ahead.
Sure. That was really great. Thank you, everyone, for hearing me out a little bit in the beginning. And it's really exciting to hear what all of you have to bring up, stories and experiences and really beautiful words. Thank you, everyone. I guess I'm going to pass to Travis really quick so he could read how you can join Triumph if you're interested. I'll share our words to live by, and then we'll close out with some music by Raphael. So go ahead, Trav.
Invitation to join Triumph. Hey, how you can become part of Triumph. You can become a member of Triumph or start a Triumph charter group in your community. Email it and request more information. You are from a group ready to the country. You can become a spiritual leader and healer in this movement. If you were once part of Triumph, you are still family. We would love to welcome you back on. Email and let us know you'd like to reconnect with your Triumph family, and we will show you how. Your church or faith community can also become part of our Triumph family as a friend of Triumph and share in the life of this community. Email for more information at triumphlicense@gmail.com. You can also support our ongoing mission of healing, educating, inspiring, Tactic Dr. with our Cash App, $Triumph 2020. Mail to Triumph the Church of the New Age. P.O. Box 2157, Newark, New Jersey, 07114.
Thank you. Yes, check out our website, Triumph the Church of the New Age -international.org to find out more. And the words to live by for this week are by the beautiful author herself. The single story creates stereotypes, and the problem with stereotypes is not that they are untrue, but that they are incomplete. They make one story become the only story. Food for thought. Go ahead, Raphael. Thank you for being here.
That song that I'm gonna play, it's a poem for a great poetry from Brazil. I hope you like it, guys. Na oração que diz a terra, quer Deus que a quem está o cuidado dado, pregue que a vida é emprestado, estado, mistérios mil que desenterra, enterra. Quem não cuida de si que é terra, que o alto rei por afamar, amado, é quem lhe assiste ao desvelado lado. Da morte ao ar não desaferra a fé. Quem do mundo a mortal loucura cura a vontade de Deus sagrada, agrada, firma-lhe a vida em atadura dura, ó voz zelosa que dobrada, brada. Já sei que a flor da formosura, usura, será no fim dessa jornada, nada. We all will be something else. We all will be something else. We all will be something else. We all will be something else.
Raphael, you are awesome. You are welcome here anytime. You have an open door. You're now officially a part of our Triumph family.
Thank you, guys.
Is there
And
where we could find your music or a website that you might have?
yeah, you guys can search on Spotify for Rafael Kaft, and I have an album that I launched in last year that is called Deuses in the Saints, and I'm working in another album for for the the next 2 years, but you guys can watch some things on YouTube and Spotify. Hufflecraft.
Oh, great. Great.
All
Thank
right,
you
people.
again.
I guess it's time to go. Thank you for joining us. We're really happy to see everyone again. It was great.
Our closing prayer, Brenda.
Oh, yes. I was like, okay, bye.
I,
Closing prayer. Let us pray. Take a nice deep breath.
I really love it to be with you guys. It was
you.
it was an honor.
We cannot merely pray to you, O God, to end war, for we know that you have made the world in a way that people must find their own path to peace within themselves and with their neighbors. We cannot merely pray to you, O God, to end starvation, for you have already given us the resources with which to feed the entire world, if we would only use them wisely. We cannot merely pray to you, O God, to root out prejudice, for you have already given us eyes with which to see the good in all people, if we would only use them rightly. We cannot merely pray to you, O God, to end despair, for you have already given us the power to clear away slums and to give hope, if we would only use our power justly. We cannot merely pray to you, O God, to end disease, for you have already given us great minds with which to search out cures and healing, if we would only use them constructively. Therefore, we pray to you instead, O God, for strength, determination, and willpower, to do instead of just pray, to become instead of merely wish.
Ashe and
Ashe.
amen. Have a great week, everyone. Let's go about affirming life and all that we do. Take care. See you next time.